For this video, we're going to be looking at writing word problems that look like verbal phrases instead of what you did on Friday. So let's take a look and let's talk about what it means when I say writing word problems that read like verbal phrases. So when I say read like verbal phrases, I'm talking about something that may have the verbal phrases from the chart that you had, like add, and then you had subtract, and then you had multiply, and then of course you had division. So for add, you might have had something like more than, added to, increased by, and those things. So if you see words that maybe look like this, or less than, subtracted from, you may also see decreased by. You don't have to write this down. Multiply, you may see the product of, or a fraction of, or percent of. For divide, you may see quotient, or you may see the word separated. Okay, so if you see words that look like that in a word problem, more than likely you're going to be writing this as a verbal expression word problem. And let's talk about how you solve it. So the first thing you're going to do is define a variable, which is what you did Friday. And then this is the important part. You're going to look back in your statement that reads like a verbal phrase and substitute your variable in its proper place. And then you simply write what you see. Simply write what you see. So it's three things, guys. Define your variable first, like you normally do. Next, look back in that statement that reads like a verbal phrase. You're going to find a sentence. Find that sentence that has that verbal phrase in it. And then you're going to substitute your variable right in that spot. And then you're going to go back and write what you see. All right. Now, this is what I need you to know. If you see this is or that is, it's going to refer back to the statement read directly before it. And is immediately follows it, okay? And is immediately followed by an equal sign. When I say is immediate follows it, I mean is means equal. Because this is, that is, it means you put an equal sign. And the word this or that refers to what you previously read, the statement right before it. Also remember that, and let me go back up here. You don't have this on your notes, but let me show you this. Let me give you an example when I say that or this. And is means write an equal sign, okay? That or this refers to the statement read directly before it, okay? So look at this example. It says Katie wants to buy a bike that costs $129. This is, so you see this is, like you see it right here. Like you see it right there. So you see this is. What this is refers to, that this refers to what's directly before it. So this is talking about the $129. In other words, the cost of the bike. When it says this is more than, okay, this is 24 more than. This is talking about the cost of bike. You ever heard of like a vague pronoun where somebody may say she did it, but nobody knows who she is? So who's the she you're talking about? So in other words, who's the this? What's the this I'm talking about? The this I'm talking about is the cost of the bike, which is 129. All I gotta do is backtrack to the sentence before to see what this is talking about. So it would be like 129, and is just automatically means equal. Okay. So this is 129 and is equal. And then you can start writing the other side of your expression. All right. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. Also, before we start, statements containing less than, more than, subtracted from, an added to need to be written backwards because it's got than in it. Turnaround word. From, turnaround word. To, turnaround word. If you see those, you still write them backwards. All right, let's get started. Katie wants to buy a bicycle that costs $129. This is 24 more than 3 times what she saved last month. How much money did she save last month? So the first thing we'll do is go to the question. Here's my question. How much money did she save last month? So let's do for amount saved last month. And then it tells me after I define my variable, you always look in your question. Look back at your statement, go find a sentence that reads like a verbal phrase, and substitute that variable there. So let's go find a sentence that reads like the verbal phrase. Well, Katie wants to buy a bicycle that costs $129. Doesn't have any verbal phrase words in it. So let's go on to the next sentence. This is 24 more than 3 times what she saved last month. That reads like a verbal phrase. Because I see more than, which means plus or add. Times, which means multiply. So I already know my variable needs to go in that sentence. Well, the variable is, which represents the amount saved last month. What she saved last month, they have to be the same words, just talking about the same thing. So S is talking about what she saved last month. And then it says what she saved last month. So all of this, I'm going to cross it out, gets changed to S. I don't need that anymore. It just gets changed to S. So now it reads, this is 24 plus 3 times S. But because it has than in it, I'm going to write it backwards. Also, I see this is. So the this refers to 129. 129 is, I've already written the left side. Now I just need to write the right side. The right side has a turnaround word in it. So instead of writing 24 plus, instead of writing 20, because this is separates the left side from the right side of the equation. Instead of writing 24 plus 3 times S, I'm going to go backwards because it has than in it. I'm going to write 3 times S plus 24. Now you could have also written a 29 on the other side. You could have written 3S plus 24 equals to 129. I don't care what side that 129 goes on. I just care that this is written backwards. It's not written 24 plus 3S. It's written 3S plus 24 because it has than in it, and than is a turnaround phrase. Okay? So again, I hope that makes sense. Kind of go back through it. What she saved last month is my variable, but it has a turnaround word in it. So instead of writing 24 plus 3S, I write it backwards. I write 3S plus 24, all because of the word than. And again, I don't care what side 129 goes on. Just write this part backwards. Okay? Now we're going to solve. And I'm going to use this one to solve. All right, so I'm going to use this one to solve. I'm going to get rid of the 24 by subtracting 24 from both sides. So I have 105 equals to 3s. Divide both sides by 3. So 105 divided by 3 is 35. So what was the amount she saved last month? 35 bucks. Put the dollar symbol because X represents what she saved last month. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. When 12 is subtracted from 3 times a number, the result is 24. Find the number. It's not a question, but it tells me what to do. So I'm going to let X represent the number. Then I go back to the sentence that reads like a verbal phrase where it's only one. And there is the number. I'm going to change that to X. But it has a turnaround word in it. When 12 is subtracted from 3 times X. Normally we write 12 minus 3 times X. But because it has from in it, I'm going to write it backwards. So I'm going to write 3 times X minus 12. The result is, which means equals, is equal to 24. And then I just solve. Add 24 to both sides. We get 36. Divide both sides by 3. So the number is 12. That's all you do. And it was only one sentence that read like a verbal phrase. So you just worked in that sentence. All right, example 3. Pam worked for 44.4 hours this week, per week in July. Okay, this is what she did every week in July. This is, well, I know this is talking about the hours she worked in July per week. So that would be the 44.4 hours per week. So I already know it's going to be 44.4, and then is equal. I just need to worry about the other side because it's got this statement in it. All right, this is 12.25 hours more per week than, it's got more than, it's got that than in it. It's going to be a turnaround word. 12 point, let me highlight this. 12.25 hours more per week than the number of hours she worked in June. So I got June and July. And let's see what the question is asking me. How many hours did she work per week in June? So I'm going to do H for hours worked. Just go to your question. It will help you figure out what your variable is. Hours worked per week, particularly in June. I have to stay in June because I got June and July, okay? So now I'm going to go back and find a sentence that reads like the verbal phrase. That would be the second sentence. Pam worked 44 hours per week in July. It's not a verbal phrase. But this is 12.25 hours more per week than the number of hours she worked in June. That's more than. That reads like a verbal phrase. So let's go ahead and look for when it's talking about the hours she worked per week in June. The number of hours worked in June. And it should say per week, guys. It does. Right here. Hours per week. Okay, and this was in June. All right, so I'm going to change these hours she worked in June. Cross out all the hours she worked in June. Hours she worked in June, okay? It's going to change to H. All right, so Instead of hours she worked in June, I have the right side already completed. Now I just got to complete the left side of the equation. The right side of the equation was this 44.4, and then the is separated the right from the left. Okay, so on this side is 12.25, looks like plus h. Okay, 12.25 plus h, because more than means plus, but it's got than in it. So instead of writing 12.25 plus h, because it has than in it, I write it backwards. I write h plus 12.25. Write it backwards, okay? It goes backwards, all because of the than. And I'm just writing the left side. Now I'm just going to subtract. Of course, you could have figured that out mentally. But the whole thing is to be able to create equations, okay? We're going to have to regroup. So it's 22.15 hours. But I need to state this is what she worked in June. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 30. I think I might have written down something wrong. I know it's a 3. Hold on. It's 3, sorry guys. So it's 32.15 hours. So I'm going to put Pam worked 32.15 hours per week in June. Let's take a look at this one. The range of Rita's paper airplane is 486. And I'm going to put inches, guys. Take off feet and put inches. It's typo. It's 486 inches, which is still a lot. But it's much better than feet, okay? Probably should have put centimeters. Yeah, let's put centimeters, make it make sense. All right, so we're going to say the range of Rita's paper airplane is 486 centimeters. This is 112 feet more than 1/3 the range of Fred's airplane. What is the range of Fred's paper airplane? So I'm going to go here for my question. So I'm going to do R for range of Fred's airplane. Make sure you say Fred's, because we're talking about Rita and Fred both have a paper airplane. So I'm going to go back to the question, the statement that reads like a verbal phrase, which will be the second sentence, this one here. And I see the range of Fred's airplane. Cross all that out. Get rid of all that. We don't need it. We're just going to change that to the variable R. I know this refers to the 186 centimeters. So it's 486 followed by is. So I got the left side written. I just got to write the right. I think on this problem I had it backwards. I hope I didn't do it on the other ones. Oh, maybe I did, maybe I did. Sorry, guys. This was left. This is right. It's 4 something in the morning, I'm sorry. All right. So that's the left. That's the right side. So I have the left side written. I just need to focus on the right side, okay? So on the right side, it looks like we write. I'm focused. I'm over here. I'm on this side of is, this side of my equal. So I'm focusing on this part over here. Looks like I write 112. More than means plus 1/2 R, but it has than in it. So instead of writing 112 plus 1/2 R, I write 1/2 R plus 12, write it backwards. Plus 112. Okay? Now I get to solve it. And again, I don't care what side you write that 486 on. Just write 1/2 R plus 112 first. Either one will work. All right, I'm going to solve this one. I'm going to subtract 112 from both sides. And I have 1/2 R. Now you all should remember, how do you get rid of a fraction that's attached to a variable? Okay? So when you have a fraction attached to a variable, the quickest way to get rid of it, when you're just trying to solve for the variable, and you gotten rid of the other things on the side, like the 112, you just multiply by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2/1 or 2. These cancel. So you have 374 doubled. So I'm going to put 748. So it's going to be 704, and put centimeters, guys. Okay. Let's take a look at example 5. Tristan's bedroom is 560 square feet. When you have something in square feet, it automatically refers to area. Square footage is area, guys. Basically, the area of his bedroom is 560 square feet. This is, whether this is talking about the 560 square feet, I'm going to go ahead and write that. Is means equal. So I have the left side written already. I just need to write the right. So on the right side, I have 17 feet less than 2/3 of Mason's bedroom. And I'm going to put 2/3. I'm going to put 2/3 the area of Mason's bedroom, okay? That's what it's talking about. How many square feet is Mason's bedroom? So I need to do, I don't know, I'm going to do M for area of Mason's bedroom. So I'm going to go back to the second sentence, which is a sentence that reads like a verbal phrase. It has less than and 2/3 of in it. And here it's talking about the area of Mason's bedroom. So all this gets changed to M. So instead of 2/3 area of Mason's bedroom, it's just 2/3 of M. Okay? So I'm just focusing on this side. 17 less than 2/3 of M. So normally we just write 17 minus 2/3 of M. But because it has than in it, I'm going to write it backwards. I'm going to write 2/3 of M minus 17. Go backwards. If you don't do this, you're going to get the wrong answer, guys. It doesn't matter, like really with more than, but with less than, it definitely matters. Go backwards because that's a turnaround phrase in it, like than. So don't write 17 minus 2/3 M, write 2/3 M minus 17. All because of that turnaround word. Now I'm going to add 17 to both sides. These cancel. So how do I get rid of a fraction that's attached to a variable? Multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. I'm going to make sure that this has a denominator. So I have 3 times 577, 1731. And on the bottom of 2, these cancel. And let me divide that out. I'm going to have to add a decimal and a 0. Or you could have put 865 and 1/2. But I'm just going to put 865.5. But you could have stuck with 865 and 1/2. And I need you to put square feet. Okay, because it's area. Okay, let's take a look at 6. The length of Cole's leg is 48 inches. Then it says this, which is talking about the length of Cole's leg, is, which is equal. 48 equals. So you write the other side, the right side, the equal sign. 10 less than twice the length of Chelsea's leg. Okay, so the question becomes, how long is Chelsea's leg? So let's do C. For length of Chelsea's leg. So I see length of Chelsea's leg right here. So go back up there and we'll mark all that out. I don't need it because I get to replace it with a C, a variable. So normally I would put 10 minus twice C, 2C. But it has Zan in it. So I'm going to write 2C minus 10. Go backwards. 2C minus 10. Going backwards again, okay? Start here, go backwards. Because of the word then. So 2C minus 10. Add 10 to both sides. And then divide both sides by 2. So half of 58 is 29. But put inches. So the length of Chelsea's leg is 29 inches. And that's all you do. Ooh. All right, example 7 says Bryce decided to go to his grandparents' house. And you can pause the video and try this one before I do it. All right, Bryce decided to go to his grandparents' house. Irrelevant information. That's what we call a distractor. Really not helping me. It's not going to help me solve the problem. All right, the distance to his grandparents' house is 50 miles more than 3 times the distance to his Aunt Lindsay's house. I can tell you right there. There's my verbal phrase sentence. If Bryce drove 260 miles to his grandparents' house, okay, what's the distance to Aunt Lindsay's house? So I need to find the distance to Aunt Lindsay's house. Let's call it A. I'm going to call it D. But in this case, it's distance to Aunt Lindsay's house. So go back up and look for a phrase that looks like that. Distance to Aunt Lindsay's house. There it is. Cross out all that. We don't need it. We're just going to replace it with the letter D. So now go back to that same sentence. This sentence, guys. The distance to his grandparents' house is, what is equal. The distance to his grandparents' house. Do I know the distance to his grandparents' house? Yes, it says Bryce drove 260 miles to his grandparents' house. So the distance to his grandparents' house is 260 miles. You can't have well, you can have two unknowns, but I haven't taught you how to solve those yet. So these only have one. All right, so the distance to his grandparents' house was 260 miles. So I know 260 miles is going to equal, it says 50 more than 3 times d, but it has than. So don't write 50 plus 3d. Because it has than, write the 3d first, and then write plus 50. 3d plus 50. Write it backwards because it has than in it. Now I'm going to solve. Divide both sides by 3. So the distance here would be 70 miles. So the distance to Aunt Lindsay's is 70 miles. So let's take a look at 8. The length of Rashad's kite is 89 inches more than one and a half times its width. And the width is 15 inches. What's the length? So I'm looking for L, which represents the length of the kite. Go back to the sentence that tells me about the length of the kite. Okay, this sentence, here we go. The length of the kite. Okay, so I'm crossing all of that. And I'm going to replace it with L. And then is means equal. So L equal. So it looks like in this case, L is already by itself. Well, L equals what? 89 inches more than 1.5 times its width. Okay, the question is, I know it has a than in it. So I'm going to write 89 plus 1.5 times its width. Okay, I got an L. I don't have a W. Can't have a W. Can't have a second unknown because I haven't taught you those yet. So there must be a number for its width. Well, it goes on and say the width is 15. So basically, this is 1.5 times 15. Its width is 15, okay? It says it right here. So the width is 15. So basically, 89 plus 1.5 times 15, but it has than in it. Because it has than in it, I wouldn't write 89 plus 1.5 times 15. I'm going to write 1.5 times 15 plus 89. I'm going to write it backwards. All because of the word than. And L is already by itself, so all I have to do is follow PEMDAS. This one was a trick one to see if you could follow the sentence. You could write what you saw. And some students get so used to throwing in variables that they don't recognize that they gave them a number for a particular unknown. It's no longer unknown, like width is no longer unknown. The width is 15. Or some students get so used to putting the unknown variable, the true unknown, and trying to solve for it, they don't realize that sometimes it's already by itself because they're not writing what they see. So I just need to multiply 1.5 times 15, and I get 22.5. And you can multiply 15 times 15. It's going to give you 225, guys. But there's one number after the decimal. So I need just one number after it, okay? Plus 89. The decimal 89 is at the end if you don't see it. Put 89.0 in line. My decimals up. And add. So you end up with the length of the kite is going to be 111 and 5/10 inches. Okay? Or and a half. You can read it as 5/10 or a half. All right, that's it, I think. Yeah, that's it. All right, thanks, guys.